Welcome to Movie to Beer, everybody. This is Dan Kapersky bringing us in, and on tonight's wonderful, amazing episode, we have some great friends with us tonight.
Co-host and guest Aaron.
I'm like pointing.
We always go in this order. I don't know why you waited.
I was confused because co-host Dan was looking at co-host yet to be announced, and I apologize. I'm Aaron. I am your expert on timing.
And you got Blake, your fetch expert.
Fetch expert. All right. So the reason we have some interesting experts tonight is because we watched this movie called Mean Girls. We time traveled back to 2004.
If you're keeping count, this is the, I believe, fifth 2004 Aaron edition of the podcast.
We actually had done another episode previous to Aaron partaking in these.
Wait, hold. You watched
Primer episode was from 2004. Yes.
Well, it was
I kid you not.
Why do I feel cheated on?
You should be.
Because no, you should. We had no idea you were ever going to do this at that time.
Yeah.
We traveled to a time with very specific, accurate time travel to do that episode.
Okay.
But we're not talking about Primer tonight. We're talking about Mean Girls.
Mean Girls.
One of the most amazing movies that I've ever seen. I'm so glad you guys liked it.
Yes.
So unexpectedly enjoyable, delightful, very smart, very funny.
Tina Fey wrote
Tina Fey.
Tina Fey, first bit of trivia, wrote the screenplay based on the book Queen Bees and Wannabes, which is a nonfiction parenting book. She didn't know it was that. She didn't know it wasn't a narrative, like a narrative prose story, until after she read it and thought, oh no. But she made something amazing.
Yeah, it's really good. This film takes place in high school.
In Illinois.
Actresses are obviously older than high schoolers.
Rachel McAdams was 25 at the time of filming.
Yeah.
But we can call it a teen comedy, though.
Oh,
Teen
yeah.
comedy. And because of that, because, hey, this is kind of a younger person, I was like, what better to try instead of beer, because we've been doing beer and we did soju once. I'm like, let's do hard seltzer. I was like, not White Claw, because I would immediately grab a White Claw to watch this if I was with somebody on a date.
But they're not
whatever.
paying us, so
Correct. So
we
we
don't
went
get
with,
any of our good advertising numbers.
So in the last couple of years during the pandemic, a lot of local breweries decided, hey, I can make seltzer. It's taxed the same, so it's classified as the same kind of alcohol as beer. So, and it's easier to make.
And it's what the young people are drinking.
It's what the young people drink today anyway. So they started making it, and it kind of fell out of favor in the last, 6 months or so. So it's kind of harder to find now from the local places. The two that we selected tonight are actually from Wisconsin and Texas. I couldn't find anything local. So
that sounds like Portland.
We'll get into that a little bit. We changed it up and we're doing the hard seltzers tonight. But this film, which I am going to say, like, we've seen a few films that have to do with kids in elementary schools and junior highs and high schools.
Yep.
And it all takes place in Toronto. This film takes place in Chicago, but it gets filmed in Toronto because Toronto's much cheaper.
And it's a beautiful city.
Yeah.
Whereas Chicago, not so much.
Chicago looks great if you're the Batman tracking down the Joker.
Correct.
Yeah, I guess if you got like one of those drone shots from looking at the cityscape.
Yeah.
Yeah. But otherwise, like if you got like a school bus running through the frame.
Multiple times.
Yeah, I want to say at least 3, which is a rule 3 in storytelling.
Yes.
So, yeah.
And we're going to totally plot spoil the shit out of this because it's from 2004.
It's
and
not
it's
almost
been
a
on
20-year-old.
TV. It's like almost a 20-year-old film. And so it has some really amazing actresses that turned out to actually continue to make some really good stuff.
This was Amanda Seyfried's first major motion picture.
Yeah.
And she's found her niches, like being the pretty girl in a lot of movies, but she's playing Elizabeth Holmes in that Hulu show Theranos, or healthcare show is.
Yeah.
She's a phenomenal actress. Lacey Chabert's, I think, first big movie. Lindsay Lohan's first non-Disney movie.
Yeah.
Rachel McAdams had done some stuff, but really found her, front and center for this one.
And this was like executive produced by Lauren Michaels.
Yeah.
And it's got like multiple, like 3 or 4 SNL cast
Tim
members.
Meadows, Anna Gasteyer, Tina Fey, and Amy Poehler.
Yes. All have roles in this. And it was like, I applaud them all for like not really having to stretch it too far because there's a lot of comedy elements in this. But it's actually really freaking good. It's hilarious and you feel sorry. You have compassion for the characters towards the end when everything comes out, and like they have this mean book and
Tiny bit of trivia about the characters. Tina Fey had backgrounds for all of them. So if any actors had any questions about their characters' motivations, she could fill them in.
Wow.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons I admire her as a writer. She's such a good writer.
That's a good work ethic too. I mean, to do all that work.
Makes them fully formed.
The teachers were a little, I don't know.
farcical.
To me, farcical. They weren't like real teachers.
Was it Tim
'cause,
Meadows yelling, "I didn't leave the South Side for this"? That did it
Yes.
for you, or what?
Or well, I mean, the gym teacher screwing both of the Asian girl friends who was like, how it what? Okay, yeah,
The
whatever.
minors?
Yes.
Yeah.
The two, yeah.
That's just a
But
little.
I will
cheesy.
say though that for the students, like the student characters, like they all were multi-dimensional. They were all dynamic.
Yeah.
And you could see kind of at several points, like, yeah, there's these different character motivations that are in conflict of like, I want to fit in, but at the same time, I want to be authentic. Like, as you know,
They seem really well informed.
Yes.
Like the characters, the actors portraying these young people seemed like I know this story because I lived it.
it was in touch.
It was very much in touch.
Yeah. I mean, I say that now. I mean, I've been out of high school 20 years, like, and so maybe I wouldn't recognize it if I were to visit one now. But from my lived experience, this felt true to life.
I couldn't say that because I was 10 years before the film was made. Actually, almost 15 years before that. It seemed a little foreign. People didn't act that mean when I was in high school. So that's just like, I don't know if people really are that mean now. That's
I went to a school at a very
Exaggerated.
Well, I went to a smaller school, so everybody, like literally everyone knew everyone to one degree. So there wasn't really a lot of rumor building. Middle school was gnarly, but high school, everyone was just like, oh, I had a graduating class of 70.
That's
So
an
everyone knew
interesting point.
everyone knew each other. Like, oh, you're cool. Yeah, we're all fine.
There were almost 1,000 in my graduating class.
Me too.
Graduating class,
And
not school. There was over 3,000 in the school.
Damn.
I think like maybe the
Sorry for
size,
this foul language.
the size of the school that you went to might have really changed what the dynamics are. But also for me, I grew up on like the edge of suburbia. There were like rich lawyer kids, and then there were like farm kids, and then there were like normies, and it was like the kind of three different tribes.
None shall ever pass. Like you shall never ever cross those lines. I tried to when I was in high school cross a lot of different boundaries across social like groups or norms, or I guess you would say cliques, because they really did. There was like the muscle clique who like worked out and played the sports, the jocks, and then the guys who were varsity, and then there was
And then the mathletes.
Mexicans, and then the nerd science. I was basically a science nerd.
Dan
but-
Kaspersky was
so
the click walker.
I was because I was the weird art nerd guy who was the photography editor for the school newspaper.
Oh, that's key.
So if you
That's how
wanted to get
everywhere.
into the newspaper,
You were a gatekeeper.
I was the gatekeeper to that, and I also like helped out with the yearbook and stuff. So everybody knew if I was walking around with my camera, you wanted to talk to me because I could you tell me what's going on, and I'll go take pictures and it'll get in
Dan
the school
Kaspersky
newspaper.
knows everyone.
I did. I
Ba-bum-bum-ba-dow.
pretty much did. I knew everybody. I knew people in every clique, and so that's why this film seems a little weird to me because I'm like, they existed, but people still traveled across them back then.
We had some interspersing. That's not right. Some cross contamination of the cliques, like the skater kid. I got hung out with the skater kids. I didn't skate, but we liked a lot of the same anime and stuff. And kids who were really into anime, I got along with them for video games and like just general history stuff. And then the band geeks were they were big into pot. I wasn't, but I drove them around and charged them as an early edition Uber.
There you go.
I'm just thinking of the joke from the movie about the sexually active band kids.
Not wrong.
Right?
No, that's not
Not
wrong,
wrong.
at all. No, band nerds were, they had it going on.
But,
like
but yeah.
Stacy's mom.
But it was weird having such a or Stacy's dad.
Oh yeah.
Like even though it was a smaller school, you could see like where the groups were. Like the FFH, right? Like the
Future Farmers of America.
So FFA, I apologize. The FFA kids, that was clear. You hear their boots clomping, see them rocking their overalls, but then the
Yes.
kids with the Jinko jeans and the skate shoes like right behind them. It was clear as day, but everyone pretty much got along.
But every new student coming into that type of environment, though, like a transfer student or somebody who, like our protagonist with Mean Girls, somebody who had been formerly homeschooled
In Africa.
you have to like learn the landscape, and then you have to learn all of the rules.
And she kept her monologue and her
So brilliant.
was explaining a lot of that. There was a lot of hey, when you're in Africa, and then they would like pretend to have the scene where it's like I'm gonna
the scene at the
take you
mall
out. Yeah.
with them around the watering hole attacking and
Right.
faux mating and
Yes.
But I think so much of what you learn in high school is kind of the non-academic, like it's social intelligence.
yeah.
And how to get along. And I think I remember as a kid, it was always drilled into me of like academics are so important. Aaron, you gotta focus on this, gotta succeed, gotta excel. But honestly, so much in life, it's like the social intelligence is almost more important. And I like what I appreciate about this movie is the way that it kind of it pivots on that. It hinges on that. Like how do you learn that? How do you adapt? And yeah, there's kind of this, all these cute analogies to, life in the jungle and predators and lions and, this kind of predator and prey dynamic. But there is, definitely in high school, I think it's kind of the last time that people are kind of smushed together in one place without self-selecting of you chose to be there. Like a job, you chose to be there. At college, you chose to be there. High school, you're there. You're smushed with everybody else that's there. You didn't choose. You don't have anything in common.
Yeah, okay. So depending on how the school is set up, I was able
Magnet
to kind
schools.
of pick I did lifeguard class. So I was in the swimming pool. I had photography and art. And then it was like a couple of science classes and one English class. And that was it. Like my senior year was like not like anybody else's because I had already fulfilled all the like base requirements to graduate. So I was just like picking electives to do my last year.
Hashtag humble brag.
Well, when you're smart, it works.
But everybody at that school was compelled to be there. It wasn't like
Correct.
you applied for a job.
Well, it
and
was
you
a public
had-
school too. It wasn't even
Yeah.
private. It wasn't one of those charter schools. That shit didn't exist when I was a kid.
I suppose then too, is it like you choosing for a charter school? Did the student choose to be there, or was that a family decision?
family
Quote,
decision.
in quotes, family decision.
I don't know. I think it's interesting that we have three different kind of age groups represented here, but none of us have exposure to that. A little bit. I mean, you guys are not that far away in age. So
I'm an elder millennial. I stake that as my territory,
Yeah.
Blake.
I'm a hillbilly. Y'all
But we-
spit. Ding.
we all have interesting backgrounds,
That's
but
not
I
a
think
generation.
it is not a generational thing.
Hillbillies.
Hillbillies are hillbillies.
Hillbilly is not a generation.
I'm from the Appalachian Mountains. I beg to differ.
All right. Yeah.
There are those who have and have not there.
Yeah, they ain't got no shoes. I really liked the not monologuing, the running narration from
Yes.
Katie.
Yes.
Katie
Yeah.
/ Caddy.
Caddy?
Kady. What a
Katie.
way to spell Katie.
Katie.
Yeah.
But yeah, the running narration was really good. I'm really bummed that Lindsay Lohan kind of got a raw deal later after this movie because she's great.
Mm-hmm.
The first non-Disney movie, she's phenomenal in it. It's
She
all
acted
yeah.
well. She did well, and I mean, I give a lot of credit. Like Tina Fey's impression is all over this. It's very
Oh,
smart
yeah,
and very
yeah.
funny. But like, you need good actors and actresses to execute. And like Lindsay Lohan stepped up. She stepped up.
I think all of them stepped up. All the
Yeah.
all the female leads. There isn't a lot of focus on the guys. There's just the one love interest and then the
love
other
interest,
boyfriend.
and then the Darian, the gay guy.
Yeah.
Blake was talking about the Bechdel test. The
Every woman in this movie talks to. I mean, there's like some conversations about one of the male characters, but most of the conversations never cover the male characters. It's
Right,
between two
right.
female
Yeah.
characters,
And-
so it passes.
it's kind of refreshing that like all of the storylines and all the protagonists are these main girls, but then the guys are kind of all these background characters.
I forgot Aaron was in it until. Sorry, the character Aaron was in it until.
I'm in this movie. That's why we
Yes.
chose it.
You were the principal.
So does that
Yeah,
work
now
for
it could-
porn? Because in straight porn, it's 99% focused on the
I
women,
don't
and the guys are
know.
just figures that are there doing
Well,
something.
they're talking to men though, if that's considered talking.
Well,
You would need some kind of group
Communicating.
sex in order to really pass, because then there
I
could
don't
be
know.
females talking to each other about
Yeah.
and not a man.
I mean, you did see a little bit of. I mean, okay, so let's step back for a moment and say, is this kid appropriate? I think teenager appropriate. There's no nudity,
No nudity, some language.
a little bit of language, but you're going to hear that
little
on
bit.
TV.
The,
I'm
the
like,
most
seriously.
saucy thing you see is Tina Fey with her very plain bra. Because
Well, Tina Fey's hot. I
For the
gotta
round-
say. Like,
agreed.
But no, there's references to drugs. There's references to sex.
I think this is a very safe movie.
Yeah. Overall,
I'm surprised I haven't seen it on TV.
honestly, I think, like I said, it seems true to life. What kids are experiencing in schools. Well, I guess maybe if they're remote learning now, but like the social dynamic in any high school, this isn't going to introduce a lot of stuff that's not really
already happening.
Yeah, I mean, and maybe it's not to the same degree of there's a burn book. Maybe this burn book steps it up a few notches for
that feels
narrative.
specific. That feels. I've never ever heard of anyone keeping a book of.
Well,
although I had a
that's
friend who kept notes of whenever they get stoned, he'd keep notes, and his mom found it.
Oh no.
Oh no!
And my folks asked me, just be straight with me. Did you smoke with them? Like, nah. I drove them around a couple times, charged them. Mom's like, what are you doing? Dad, give me a thumbs up.
I'm running my own company in transportation. No,
But calling it Uba.
But the burn book, I think, is kind of an abstraction. Like rumors have always been around. Like the burn book is just sort of a
It's a
narrative
MacGuffin.
device.
It's a MacGuffin to.
What's a MacGuffin?
Like a thing that drives the story forward. Like this is a physical thing that they could say, "Oh, hey, this thing."
A MacGuffin
Like
is
getting
a
hit by
physical
a bus?
narrative device.
It's a it's something Alfred Hitchcock referred to a lot.
Yeah, it's like getting hit by a bus.
It's
and
like
then almost
getting hit
stepping
by
in
a
front of a bus. And then almost getting hit by a bus again at the end.
And then the ambiguity of did you step or were you pushed?
Exactly. Because some people thought that she got pushed.
Well, they said that. That's
That's why I voted for her for Spring Fling Queen.
Yes.
But then also, too, one of the things that I notice is, like, since everybody texts each other now, nobody actually does phone calls.
Yeah.
Like the phone calls, the multi-party phone calls in this film.
Party line.
Yeah, where there's an unexpected third person on the line.
The equivalent now is if you don't label your group chats correctly and you text the group something you meant to text one person.
Yes. Correct.
Yeah, be careful where you send your eggplants, guys.
Why do you think I changed all of our group chat? Nice. Excellent.
Okay, so I would also like to say that stop trying to make fetch happen.
Oh.
Fun thing about fetch, Tina Fey invented the term for the movie.
What? you?
She didn't want to use an actual teen phrase because it would become outdated over time. People don't say yeet anymore. And that was a thing a year or two, like a few years ago. Nobody dabs anymore. But
dabs.
fetch, it's fun little movie term, and nerds online use it to, they cut the word fetch out and put whatever word in.
That's so fetch.
Like, for example, for like the DC universe, people talk about, they should keep Ezra Miller. They'd cut that scene of Regina George saying, "Stop trying to make Ezra Miller happen." It's become a great meme. It's a memeable movie. It's this movie holds up so well.
My quote of the my quote from the movie: "Oh my God, Karen, you can't just ask people why they're white."
Correct, and there is some truth to that because having been to Africa myself, I mean, you've traveled some and you've traveled a little bit, but I've been to Africa, and you know what? They do say jumbo.
Nice.
And it's like, she's just trying to be polite.
That's right. She said jump onto the group of American-raised, American-born black kids.
And they're looking at her
from
like,
Chicago.
You're like, you won't get shot. What are
Chicago's
you doing?
gnarly, guys.
Yeah. Even suburbia Chicago.
Yeah, South Side. I've seen the show South Side. It's rough.
Yeah.
But it's a comedy, but it's rough.
But yeah, it's like a clear illustration. She's learning what the social rules are.
Yeah.
And she learns fast.
In that environment, like there's such a thin margin for mistakes, I think. You get judged very quickly.
Yeah. And it covers the high school teen movie tropes really well. Like the map of where all the kids sit. Very 10 Things I Hate About You. Very like all those 80s, 90s high school movies. Covers all the bases, like all the cliques and how just everyone dresses vastly different.
And you do know chlamydia is not spelled with a K. So when you watch the film, watch out for the coach
and then you'll
teaching
die.
Health, and then you'll die. Because if you touch each other, then you die. You're going to catch the chlamydia.
God, that was so funny.
And it's so
this movie's amazing.
How funny it is that the coach was involved with the underage girls and also then teaching sex ed.
Screaming about abstinence. That's the only way, but here's some rubbers.
Oh, yeah, that was real funny. Like, yeah, here's abstinence. Oh, by the way, here's a whole bucket full of condoms here.
and I think part of it reflects actually what was going on in the world at that point in time, because there was a very hard push by conservatives to be like, well, you got to teach sex ed like this.
I think there's still that impulse or still that push. I think they just realize they've lost. Like the data is not on that. The data shows that doesn't actually help.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then you're going to die.
And then you're going to die.
You're going to die.
Speaking of dying, I've been dying to talk about seltzers.
Have you?
No.
He's just trying to segue because
Correct.
he's a good co-host.
He is a good co-host because we're pushing our time limit here.
I just want to talk about the movie for 9 hours, so I'm not going to do it.
It's all good.
We could talk about this movie for probably the length of the movie. We could, to be honest. But so Dan, tell us how seltzers are made, if you can, even in general terms.
In general terms, people that worked at microbreweries and breweries in general are like, hey, we're losing our market share because COVID sucks and no one's going out to bars anymore.
Why aren't people going out to bars anymore?
Because they couldn't.
Because COVID.
Shit was closed.
I thought seltzers blew up even before COVID. I thought
it
was right before.
Yeah. There was this thing called
White Claw was gaining
White
traction.
Claw,
Yeah.
and there's like a Bud Light seltzer, and there were a few other big companies who were pushing them. So seltzer is basically beer without malt.
I thought you were going to say beer without flavor. But
it's also without flavor. Well, malt is what flavors beer, most
right.
of it. They don't put hops in it. It's just some sort of flavoring agent, and it can be organic and real, or it can be a fake flavor.
Or synthetic.
Synthetic flavor of some sort. Most of the time, anymore. Breweries, they're not doing the fake stuff. There are some who, okay, you're going to say, hey, sour beers and seltzers are not that. No, so seltzers tend to be super thin because they don't have any hop, or they don't have hops and they don't have malts.
I mean,
So you're not boiling it. You're just raising it up to temp to get the sugars out.
to kind of do an infusion.
And you're not even putting your flavoring in. You're going to take that sugar water and you're going to dump a bunch of yeast in it just so it can start carbonating and creating a little bit of alcohol. And then you're going to dump your flavoring in it. Now, maybe they do the fruit in a boil and they try to, sanitize it. So, because you always run the risk of when you're putting an organic product, which has bacteria on it.
It can be variant.
It can be very variable. So maybe they do it in the boil. I don't know. Everyone does it different. And so they found this cheap alternative to making beer, which is still making alcohol. And the fun thing is you can do it with all kinds of different flavors and combinations of flavors. It tends to be below 5% alcohol. So it's going to be a lighter drink, but it's always overcarbonated. It's going to be gassy.
What makes the high alcohol content again? That's the burning of the sugars?
Yeah, so it's the byproduct of the yeast pooping.
Oh, cool.
Delicious yeast poop.
Yum.
Yes. Hey, you guys brought it up, not me.
Why pee for you cool kids out there?
Well, I was going to say, the reason kind of why I was asking is I had always thought seltzer wasn't meant to compete with beers per se, but maybe more like the flavored vodkas or some of the like mixed drinks that, when people are still kind of young and exploring their palate,
So they've also discovered that you can also produce hard liquor premixes in cans. When the seltzer thing kind of started phasing out, that, hey, we can do mixed drinks in cans, and bars started doing that and putting them out there. And then, it's just a weird craze. There's weird cyclical stuff. And so now the seltzer craze has kind of died off a lot. And so we had gone to Bridgetown Beer House thinking, they always have a big, at least one of their shelf, fridge units has like top to bottom seltzers. It did not. It only had like one shelf. We're like, oh crap.
Well, I wonder if going into summer it's going to kick off, because it is it's light. It's as an advocate of light beer, it's a very light drink. It is, I assume, lower in calories than beer. And when everyone's inside, not walking around exercising, it's a way to get a little buzzed and not put on as many LBs, ideally.
Correct.
And I think just when it's hot, you just something heavy. It doesn't really sound.
Oh, I hate an IPA on a hot day. Right. It makes me so sad.
Or like you even think of like a stout, like no.
That's winter drinking, baby.
Yeah.
Yes.
So the ones that we found.
So let's cover these.
Big props to Bridgetown Beer House for having a selection of at least some different flavors.
Yeah, thanks guys.
We got a few different ones flavor wise from Untitled Art, which is out of Wisconsin. And we've talked about their beers before. They typically make non-beer tasting beer, period. I mean, that's their shtick.
Cool,
so you're going to have all kinds of weird sours, but they also have a huge line of seltzers. And this line is called Florida Seltzer.
I thought you were going to say fruity seltzer.
No, Florida.
Well, there's lots of fruit.
But it is. There's like 7 different flavors.
You're right.
There's like 7 different flavor profiles, and we have 3 of them here that we tried. We did the strawberry kiwi, we did the raspberry lime, and then the pineapple mango. So all of these are about 5%. They don't have any IBUs because they don't put hops in it, so it's not really bitter. It's just the level of tartness to sweetness is kind of the balance. So the amount of alcohol isn't really varying at all. It's just how much of the sweet versus tart do they add in it. So they're using both puree and then they're also using concentrate. So there's a difference between the two. Concentrate doesn't have as much sugar in it. Puree, because it's frozen and condensed, versus just a puree is the fruit mixed up, and you have a lot of natural sugar.
I never thought about that. That's a really good point.
Yes. The thing is so all of these have a really tart profile. They're very, very dry.
Which I appreciated. I kind of liked that acidity and that bite. That was really nice.
They all had coloring in them, so it makes me feel like they used, and it said in the can.
Some more than others.
So the
like
kiwi,
red number 5?
The kiwi strawberry was really, really light in color, not in flavor. It tasted a lot like strawberry and not as much as the kiwi, but there was lime in most of them. That's always to push up the tartness. So
key lime concentrate.
Key limes versus regular limes. And then these, I think this line is going to be more tart than sweet overall. Because the other one we tried was a little bit more sweet than tart.
Was that the second one?
Yeah.
So I really liked that one. That was my favorite of the 3 like regular seltzers of this group.
Okay, so props to these guys, Untitled Art, for making a line of seltzers that's approachable. They didn't have really any off flavorings. I know that they've traveled halfway across the country or almost 3/4 of the way across the country, and they're still holding up. So I'm guessing that maybe seltzer, because it doesn't have all those weird chemicals and other things in them.
Nothing
that
living
beer
in
does.
it.
There's nothing living in it. So it's just like sugar water that has a little alcohol in it and a little bit of fruit flavor. Very approachable. Not for me. But
Same.
approachable.
I can appreciate what they're doing. I can tell that it's a taste that, like, if I was at a house party and
You just wanted
just
to sip
hanging out,
something.
just sip something, catch up with people.
And
Perfect pick.
You want to look like you're drinking beer, but not drinking beer.
Yeah.
And then you want to like
real trick is
not
to
drink White Claw.
The real trick is true. The real trick is to empty your beer can and then fill it with water and just walk around like, no, I'm good.
I've never done that.
I've done that with, I've done it with beer bottles. That's why I liked the greens and the browns before I learned the truth.
Yes.
What's the truth?
The truth around the color.
We'll
of the
cover it
bottle.
another episode.
That's another episode. Yeah.
The truth is
Okay.
out there.
So we had these 3 flavors from Untitled Art along this. I'm
Florida seltzer?
Florida seltzer. I mean, we always do beers. Please forgive me for my lack of being consistent. The other one we tried called Ranch Water, quote unquote.
Such a great name, by the way.
Yeah. Rio Red Grapefruit. It's a
Give me
hard
some of that
seltzer.
ranch water there.
So the Untitled Art ones tend to be between 80 and 115 calories. It's actually a really low calorie drink. So like light beer is like 90 calories. You could drink these and not really get a lot of calories out of them because they don't add a lot of sugar. It's again, they have a small amount of
Fruit puree or
of
maybe
sugar
so,
to get the fruit and stuff isn't going to add that much sugar to it on top.
You heard it here, folks. We here at Moving to Beer condone this as a health drink.
Yes, it is.
It's
sort of.
basically vitamin water. Drink up, suckers.
Yeah, or right after yoga.
So
Or during yoga.
This other company called Lone River out of Texas, Lone River Brewing. So this is made with 100% agave, natural lime, and Rio Red grapefruit juice. So this has juice in it and not concentrate, so it's going to be a little bit more sugary.
Yeah.
And this is only 80 calories. This was lower than the other ones that we tried.
Yeah,
So
all
it's really
the big name beer companies are pushing we're only 100 calories in every beer. Like,
well, there's a whole line of commercials like our beer's 1 more calorie than that one, and we have more flavor.
yeah.
So by me, I'm just like, well, that's kind of weird. I want to say for our first foray as an episode into seltzers, we didn't do bad. I would probably not do them again. But with the movie, they actually worked pretty well because they were light and fruity and tart.
Yeah.
They had a little bit of tartness to them, which was like in the movie. You're like
all the
these-
girls are. It's like a lot of
Backstabbing.
complissalts where Regina's telling somebody, "I love that skirt," and then as soon as they walk away, that's the ugliest effing skirt I've ever seen in my life.
pretty
Right.
much.
Different forces. Like there's a balance.
I thought
Sweet
that
and tart.
bracelet-
There's a like working in tension but achieving a balance.
Honestly, if you wanted to do not seltzers, tangy, sour. What's the what are they lactose?
The sour
like
beers that we've
the ones
done?
that are like just a really sharp, tangy, hit you in the face.
Yes.
Like I think that would work pretty well with this movie.
Yeah. From a beer standpoint, if you're going to do a lacto-based sour, you want to do something with lactic acid. So that's going to be the natural fruit tartness that comes through.
Okay.
Versus something that uses a bacteria to generate the tartness or sourness. Their Brettanomyces is a souring agent that people add to beer. It's a bacteria that makes it go sour.
Nice.
Those are very funky, can get very funky. Kettle sours, which traditionally don't use Brett, they can use another souring agent or bacteria, but they sometimes just use fruit puree or concentrate, whatever tartness comes out of that. So a natural souring or tartness agent.
Nice.
Natural with the fruit, at least. It comes with the fruit.
That might be tricky since the key click is called plastics, and that seems pretty artificial.
Yeah, super artificial. So maybe not.
But yeah, I like these seltzers. I mean, like Dan said, they're not for me, but I can appreciate what they're doing.
Yeah.
not gonna hate on
Likewise, I did have a favorite of the 3. I was going to ask if either of you gentlemen.
For me, it's that raspberry. That second one, the more sugary one, obviously.
Yeah,
Got a sweet tooth.
Like
raspberry
some sweet.
lime. Yeah, raspberry lime. So yeah, kiwi strawberry was a little shallow. The raspberry lime was really tart and sharp. If you maybe like do a salt rim with that next time.
Ooh, that's a good
Pick it
idea.
up a notch. The pineapple mango one tasted like old pineapple. It like dirty pineapple flavor.
I
that
liked it
Some
the
people
best.
like that. Some people don't.
It was a close second. I enjoyed anything with pineapple though. Yeah, I'm kind of a sucker.
And then we have this ranch water. I actually like the ranch water, but it is
pretty
more
good.
grapefruity and
Yeah.
dry, really dry.
I think watching
nothing
a
wrong with
classic romantic comedy with that would have worked.
Yeah. because it's dry. Now that we've discussed these beverages, which one are we going to rename? Because we haven't done beer name rename game in a while.
We haven't. There's a lot of good options for this movie. Let's rename, because it was the odd man out. Let's rename Ranch Water.
Okay.
It's a rough name. It's. I don't want to drink something from a ranch.
Correct. And if you go visit the... And I was like,
don't go to Texas.
Go
but
to
if you have
go to their website. Their website has some cute cowboy butts on it. It's Lone River Brewing. So check it out. It's cute. Plot keyword beer rename game is you go to IMDb. You scroll about halfway down the page of whatever you're looking at, show or movie or whatever, and you'll get to a little spot on the page that has some words with circles around them, and that's near like the plot and synopsis and summary area. You click on that, and you'll see like this one has 166. Submitted by people who are IMDb members. You can sign up. It's free. Not that we're telling you to do that, but it's free. And you can rate these. You can actually, if you're signed into the site, you can say how much relevance there are. And most of the people don't do it. I mean, it's just silliness. But High School Girl, as the number one there, has like 14 thumbs up on like, yeah, this is really relevant because it's about high school girls. So what we do is pick whatever alcoholic beverage we had and rename it randomly chosen or not randomly.
Oh man,
no,
never random.
There's a lot of work that goes into this. Listeners, we cut like 4 hours of us just dithering and thinking to figure this out. Like, you're welcome.
Powerful editing.
Dan has to cut like just big chunks of audio of just silence and murmuring as we figure it out.
Well, I've got one.
You've got one?
I'm going to rename Ranch Water, the hard seltzer. I'm going to name it Mouse Costume.
Oh, because that was in there. And she pointed out, she's like, what are you dressed as? I'm a mouse.
A mouse, duh. What? Just wearing the whole thing being at Halloween, girls just
I could drink that. I could drink that as mouse costume, and I'd really like it.
Mouse costume is pretty good.
Mm-hmm. What have you got, Blake?
I think I got one slightly better.
What's that?
I'm going to reach for a can of House Party Brawl.
Oh, geez.
Now, I might be a little let down because it's not going to kick me in the teeth, but I'll go, ooh, House Party Brawl. Sip, sip, sip. It's just like a house party. All right. Don't mind me lobbying for my own choice. I can go for it. How you looking, Dan? You're looking pretty satisfied with yourself.
I have two. All right, we'll do one in Brian's memory. The first,
he's still alive. He's just not here.
He's just not here. So Brian would probably say, "I'm Lebanese," and Lebanese would just be the name of the seltzer.
That's very good. Damn, that's really good.
Now,
right. I like it.
Because the rumor was, well, she's Lebanese.
She's a lesbian, and then at the end,
she's Lebanese.
Yeah,
she just didn't say it right. Mine, on the other hand, I think is even better.
I actually didn't get that until you said
well, I didn't get it until I read the trivia, and I was like, oh my God, that's a really good joke.
It's a great joke, and I'm sorry to have interrupted, but man,
no,
that just
fine.
Clicked. Like, I just got Lebanese.
God, TFA's such a great writer.
Because it's like it's like Santa and Satan. It's the same letters, just one flipped around.
Yeah.
Maybe don't compare Lebanese people to Satan.
No, I'm just saying. I mean, it's one of those wordplay things.
Right.
So mine is going to be, if I were to rename this hard seltzer called Ranch Water, I would call it F-rated. Ooh, mic drop, but I'm not dropping the mic because the mic's on a mic.
Yeah, please. Yeah, we paid a lot of money for these mics. You paid a lot of money for these mics.
Yes,
F-rated. That's good.
And don't ask me what it means because I don't remember it from the
movie. I was going to ask you when it came up in the movie.
I'm clicking on it to see if it actually says.
Huh.
No, it doesn't. So I actually don't remember, but I just know that it's a really cool word.
I'm not fighting against it, Dan. I'd be a little concerned to drink something that has the phrase F-rated on it. It's a great phrase.
Yeah.
I'd be sketchy to put a foodstuff that the FDA has to grade in my mouth.
F-rated.
I didn't even see that one.
Yeah, it's there on the left-hand side. So scroll through the list, find something fun, pick something
Find us on Instagram at a movie and a beer. I think underscores between all of them. And
just look for a movie and a beer, you'll find us.
Yeah, movie and a beer. Just send us your renames for this beer.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you why you're wrong.
Audience participation is always good.
Indeed.
And tell your friends, for God's sakes.
Friends and neighbors.
Tell your fellow plastics to listen to our podcast.
But just don't be a freshman plastic because they haven't learned yet. We know how to handle them.
They get hit by a bus in Katie's imagination.
Or even the Lebanese girl that was really nice to you that maybe you've alienated by being kind of a dick. But
who was an artist and had an art show.
Yeah. And goes on to have an amazing acting career. Lizzie Kaplan's a hell of an actress.
Right.
I'm on that.
He's stacked with actresses.
Yeah.
Tell that person to listen to
And it ends with a kiss. Yes, it does. But anyway... These guys are looking at me weird. It's like, no, it doesn't end with a kiss.
No, there was a really awkward kiss on the dance floor. I remember that.
I'm just holding my seltzer gas.
Oh, jeez. As always, the opinions expressed during the taping of this episode are those of the hosts. And we really want to thank you for listening and hanging out with us and chatting about this really good film. We suggest everyone watch it. It's not a bad film. It has some great actors and actresses in it.
It holds up really well, especially with after the Me Too movement and everything. It's phenomenal.
Yeah. I mean, it's about feminine empowerment, and it is about like everyone treats everyone like shit. So maybe you shouldn't treat everyone like shit.
It's aged really well.
It has.
It's aged really well.
And if you're going to see it, maybe find something that's a sour beer and not a hard seltzer, unless you like seltzer.
I think a sour beer would match a little better, but if you want a seltzer, it doesn't hurt.
Yeah.
It won't distract you from the amazing writing. And you know what's real fetch, guys? Hydrating so you don't dehydrate.
Oh, right. There it is.
Oh, my God, yes.
Oh, my God.
It's so fetch.
So
fetch.
It's British.
You know, again, shout out to Bridgetown Beer House for hooking us up with some seltzers. And thank you guys for hanging out. This is Dan signing out.
This is Aaron. Thanks for listening.
Blake says later.
Go fetch that.
That's not how you use it.